Hey Sharon. Hey Cosmo. How are you guys doing today? Hey Daisy Days. Sharon says I'm not hearing anything. That's because I wasn't talking. I waited until a couple of you guys jumped on the comment thread. Hey Cecile. I just read that thing that everyone's talking about. You know, how one particular UK channel creator is being harassed and attacked and targeted, and they're evidently going to sue him, and he's going to be in big trouble. Well, I just read part of the thing that's posted, and it says that they put all of the money from one fundraiser onto the new fundraiser. And then they said that they showed receipts, but I didn't see any receipts. It doesn't mean they didn't show them, but I didn't see them, so I'm not sure where they showed them. But it's kind of like all the claims of harassment and everything. I don't see evidence of any harassment, but it doesn't mean it's not there, but it might just mean that I've never seen any evidence of any harassment. But anyway, in that little blurb, it says that they raised $10,000 and that they put all $10,000 onto the new fundraiser. You know, there's one thing I've noticed about the case of Christopher Watts compared to all the other true crime cases that we've discussed over the last, 13 or 14 years. And that is that I think that a lot of the people who are involved with the case of Christopher Watts think that the people who are true crimers discussing the case of Christopher Watts have really bad memories. You know what I'm saying? Am I the only one who remembers that fundraiser wasn't 10,000? Wasn't it 14,000? I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think it was 10,000. So if it wasn't 10,000, if it was 14,000, then why are we being told that the money that was raised from that fundraiser was applied and that it was $10,000, even though on GoFundMe it said 14,000? So it got me to thinking. Do you remember how that fundraiser all of a sudden had a message up on it that said, click here if you donated? I'm not sure what that message was, because you know what? If you search for that fundraiser, it's either hard to find or not able to be found, which is kind of curious too. But wasn't there a link posted by GoFundMe for people to click on if they wanted to get their money back? So it got me to thinking, maybe there were people who donated money who wanted to get their money back. Maybe that's where that 4,000 went. I don't know. If I'm wrong on the numbers, do let me know. And I'll certainly be happy to correct myself, but I'm pretty sure that fundraiser actually raised $14,000. So if that fundraiser raised $14,000, and if we're being told that the money that was raised from that fundraiser was donated, like how can we use the word donated, right? I should say that money was then applied to another fundraiser to the tune of 10,000, then where did the extra $4,000 go? And why is there a discrepancy to the tune of $4,000? I mean, it's not like we're talking about the Facebook fundraiser that pulled in over $100,000 like within a couple weeks, right? We're not talking about the Outback Steakhouse fundraisers. We're not talking about all the different confusing claims on who exactly was paying for the funerals, because it sounds like there were a lot of different sources for funding for the funerals. We're not talking about any of the other fundraisers. We're talking about just that one that was mentioned specifically, the GoFundMe fundraiser that raised 14 grand, but now we're being told it raised 10 grand. So could it be that whoever was collecting the money had to give some of it back? I don't know. What do you guys think? Hi, Susie. Well, the new one says that the old one is being put toward the new one. And it said specifically that the $10,000 that was raised on the old one is being applied to the new one. But there wasn't $10,000 raised. There was $14,000 raised. So I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, and it might have even been more, right? So I don't know. So I'm curious, why is math always such an issue with the case of Christopher Watts? I don't know. I mean, think of the case itself, right? I mean, I think Christopher Watts' wife had a math issue. I really do. The HOA dues. Is it true that she claimed that she must have just mailed those payments to the wrong address? Because at the time of the tragedy, those dues were only $52 a month, but we were told the court hearing was about $1,500. Well, roughly speaking, that would mean 30 months. 30 months is 2.5 years. Oh, interesting. 2.5 years would have been roughly since the bankruptcy. I wonder if there were any HOA dues paid since the bankruptcy when Christopher Watts and his wife walked away from over 70 grand in debt. And how is it that a couple with very few actual expenses, if any, I mean, come on, the autopsy report said she was healthy and said the girls were healthy too. So I guess you combine that little fact with the fact that Christopher Watts always had good insurance through his work, and I'm not so sure that there would have really been any medical bills to pay. So you combine it all together and you think, did Christopher Watts' wife have a problem with math? Was she math challenged? Could it be? I don't know about you, but I know I've seen it myself, and I know my friends have told me they've seen it too, where sometimes when kids are very small, and back in the day when we had something called a checkbook, kids had the feeling that, oh, cool, you just kind of write a check, right? You write a check. There's money. It's kind of like, what's going on in our world right now, right? Spend, spend, spend. Who's going to pay for it? Oh, the U.S. taxpayer, of course. Well, I wonder, did something happen to Christopher Watts' wife at an age when she would have been emotionally developing past that point of believing that if there were checks left in the checkbook, that there was, an unlimited amount of money available? Did she make it all the way to age 34, and some of us think she was much older, believing that, hey, as long as the credit card worked, she had money? Could it be? Could it be that she didn't care? Could it be that she had absolutely no clue about, being financially or fiscally sound? Could it be that she was somehow emotionally stunted at that very young age when most children realize that that checkbook doesn't make new money, it just helps you spend the money that you already have. Right, it's magical money, Suze. Magical's the word. Like a fantasy, right? Magical thinking. And what happens if somebody actually has mental illness? They have magical thinking. Some people call it delusions. Did Christopher Watt's wife actually not have a flipping clue? And think about the purchase of that house in North Carolina. Wasn't it purchased with less than 5% down? And didn't she meet Christopher Watts shortly after she, air quotes, purchased the house? And didn't she lose money at the closing table? Yet, years later, there she was sitting out on the deck, sounding as if she had made money on the house deal, when in fact, she hadn't. His savings account? Yep, she wiped his account too, Susie says. What was it, 13 grand? Poof, gone. You know, people say, oh, they were living beyond their means. No, they weren't. They were living beyond Christopher Watt's wife's ability to recognize, evidently, that bills were supposed to be paid. Yes, the magical board, the wishing board. Of course, what do we do when we want something? Remember when poor little Bella was hungry and she wanted food? And she said she wanted food, and her mother said, what do we do when we want something? Actually, she said, oh, you want a laptop? Well, what do we do when we want something? We put it on the vision board. Is that how she handled the family budget? And I guess if those credit cards still worked, then she was successful, right? Did we see Bella and Cece going for any walks with their mom and dad? Did we see any videos of Bella and Cece going to the park with their mom and dad? Did we see any dance classes or gymnastics classes or any horseback riding going on? Did we see the children actually playing with toys? Did we see the children actually enjoying their evenings? Playing outside, running and laughing? No, we saw videos of their mother standing there pretending, evidently to herself and to the world, that she was successful. And I would have to ask the question then, successful at what? If there are any of you here who believe that she was actually making big money, or if you believe, like her father-in-law Ronnie believes, that she was 35th from the top of one of the MLMs that she signed up for, then answer me this. Why were they broke? Did we see any videos of the girls playing with their friends? Did we see any videos of the girls playing? I remember one, and they were giggling just a little bit, not very loud. They were on the floor playing a board game with their father, Christopher Watts. And their mother was evidently irritated by the noise, and she went outside to continue filming her video. And then one of the girls went up by the slider and looked, peeked out. And I don't know about you, but to me, it seemed like she got irritated by that too. When you have a neighbor saying that they don't even recognize her, yet she lived there for 5 years at the time of her death. And you have another neighbor saying that she didn't even realize that children lived at that house. What does that tell you? And when you look at the videos and you see the house that looks like it's bare bones, to say the least, what does that tell you? And when you see that there are very few toys laying around, toys or books or whatever, and yet their mother was constantly bitching that the kids were making the house a mess. What's she worried about anyway? They were in daycare full time, and Christopher Watts, from the looks of things, was the one to clean it all up. So, what does that tell you? Well, what it tells me, along with all of the lies that we've been told about this case, what it tells me is that there is a very real possibility. Sue says no refrigerator art. Exactly. The fact that there was no art posted on that refrigerator when you have two children in daycare full time, and even if the kids were not in daycare at all, there was no refrigerator art. What does that tell you? Well, it tells me that I think my hunch is right. I think that her room was on the main floor. I think that marriage was already over when she was pregnant with, now you're going to be shocked by this, so hold on to your ears. I think that that marriage was over when she was pregnant with Bella. I think that when she was 32 weeks along, she had some sort of episode. And for the first time in a couple of years since he met her, I think that Christopher Watts saw a side to his wife that he didn't know existed before he married her. I think from that day forward that Christopher Watts was just trying to hold up the entire family somehow. And I think in 2018, I think that the nightmare that I think he was living, and from what it sounds like his parents were too, would soon be over with the upcoming court hearing that we were told was for an ongoing family matter. Yes, Cecile, the main floor, the floor that has the kitchen, the basement, the main floor, and the upstairs. I think at that hearing, I think Christopher Watts was about to be set free with custody of the children. And I don't mean that it was a divorce hearing. I think it was an issue pertaining to the family plan that we're told existed at the time of the tragedy. Did Christopher Watts' wife ever drive the girls anywhere? Or were her videos made sitting in the driveway? Did she ever fly anywhere with the girls without a chaperone? Did she ever I don't know, take the kids to the doctor or to the hospital emergency room or to the specialists without other adults in tow? What do you think? Do you think that it's possible that the family plan that people have been talking about for the last 3 years straight, do you think it's possible that the family plan restricted her ability to do so? What do you think about the number of people who moved right into the house and stayed for extended periods of time? What do you think about a couple who moves into somebody else's basement, a nurse, no less, a nurse who we're told specialized in some sort of psychiatric care? Moving right into her basement for a year? For a year? A couple with no kids? Presumably two incomes, though I doubt it. I think there was only one. And they lived with another couple in a basement for a year? Sue says, nope. She always had others with her. It seems that way, doesn't it? And yet some of the others didn't seem to really know her at all. Interesting. That diabetes claim, just one of many, right? And yet, again, her autopsy report said that she was healthy. But boy, there were a lot of people lining up to say that she had diabetes. It makes you wonder what kind of programs she may have been on. Were there caregivers that were paid for by the state? Was the daycare center paid for by the state? Did Christopher Watts believe that he wasn't able to divorce? Was Christopher Watts lied to right from the start? Why do you think she wanted to move to Colorado? And remember the timing. Wasn't there a court case filed in January of that year, right at the same time that she told Christopher Watts? No, wait, that was the year before. That was the year before. The January before she met Christopher Watts. Wasn't there a court case filed that I think she was eventually dropped from? And my hunch about that, just my hunch, I'm not sure. But I think she was probably telling people she owned the place. And then once it went to court, they probably found out she didn't own shit. Well, at the time that she told Christopher Watts that her doctor said she had to move to Colorado for, all of her health challenges, she had also conned him into believing that she was going to have a 4-year nursing degree in just 2 years. Christine says it's annoying that you have to say that she didn't deserve to die if you question her actions. Well, Christine, you don't have to say that because we're adults here, and adults pretty much have that one figured out already. So you don't have to say it. But I'll give you a hint. If somebody responds to you or replies to one of your comments by saying, well, that doesn't mean that she deserved to be murdered, that doesn't mean that she deserved to die, then you might want to disengage from that discussion because you're not really having a discussion anyway to begin with if somebody resorts to ridiculous virtue signaling by stating what's obvious to most people. Three of a Kind says that she loves to provoke NC. What? She's just too easy to rattle. I'm scrolling up. I'm not even going to comment on that comment. Sue says a newly married couple doesn't do that. Exactly. They don't move in to the basement of another couple. They don't. Of another couple's house. They don't do it. They simply don't. Susie says, Mensa, it was a classic. What was a classic? What am I missing here, you guys? Sharon says, didn't she block you three? I was cleaning and listening, and I thought I hear her say something to you. LOL. Uh-oh, are you guys getting in trouble over in the other neighborhood? Okay, go ahead and tell me what happened. I hope you didn't say anything mean. I hope you kept it classy. Sharon says, three of a kind, MM. Troublemaker. LOL, lots of love. Three of a kind, what did you do? Uh-oh, three of a kind is about to have a series of videos made about her. You watch. And don't worry, three of a kind, if your life is really boring, they'll make up some really juicy garbage and run with it. And I'm not saying one particular channel creator, I'm saying all of them. Susie says, I was rooting for you, three. I think three is typing right now. We're about to see what three has been up to. Okay, here it is. Three of a kind says, yeah, Sharon Ann, I was as surprised as you when my comment went through. I thought I was blocked long ago. Sharon says, I thought, no, I like three of a kind. Susie says, too many are calling her out now. LOL, lots of love. I don't really go for what's going on. I don't know all the different names involved, but I don't really go for it because you can't tell the difference, in my opinion, from any of those channels. They're all doing the same old thing, right? And they're virtue signaling to do it. That's the part. It's like, oh, they have to tell everybody how they think that that other person is so terrible. And then look at what they're doing. When I saw that video where they actually posted the photo of that bus driver's fiance's son, I thought, yep, there you go. There you go. That's what they're made of right there. Remember, you don't need to listen for long. If they're going to be sitting there doxing and bashing and really, I think, having their entire channel based on fighting with other people, well, what makes any one of them better than another? Three of a kind says, my comment was very lame, to be honest. All I said was, quote, if these people don't bother you, like you say, why do you go live talking about them every night? Or words to that effect. Susie says, not being funny. The bus people have dished out plenty. Yeah, they were bashing me pretty good too there for a while. Susie says, that was a fair comment, three. Three of a Kind says, thank you, Sharon Ann. I will say this about the bus people, though. The bus driver himself did apologize during his live streams, so I thought that was good on him. The bus people, Christine. The guy with the bus. Yes, he does have a good voice, doesn't he, Sharon Ann? He definitely has the radio voice. And I think they've done a really good job with a couple of cases. The Robert Durst case, I think they did a really good job on. Susie said, I thought he had a wee fancy for you because he talked about you nonstop. I think he probably was just hooked up with a bunch of scumbag attackers who kept telling him to bash me every chance he had. Exactly. Sue says it's not real fighting. It's just a game to get subscribers and more super chats. Sharon agrees that he has a lovely voice. Sharon says, mind you, I like her voice too. I think they both have good voices for what they're doing. Three of a Kind says, I don't know who the bus people are either. Sharon Ann is helping Three of a Kind. C and K. That's the channel, the bus driver channel is the one where you'll hear the one who said that it doesn't matter whether or not she has any qualifications or credentials or whatever, because she knows people who actually do. She says the word corroborate. Well, they clipped that audio and they play it throughout their other videos, so it's kind of funny sometimes. You're listening along and all of a sudden corroborate. Hi, Sandy. Sandy says, hi, I'm late, B.O.B. Sharon says, LOL, lots of love. Susie says, it's clear because the chair lady has sort of socked the recent case to go back to constant drama. Did you guys notice how everyone hopped right on the case of the young couple who were supposedly, I don't know, during lockdown even, it sounds like, cruising the country? Yes, Three of a Kind. It ends in ton and M. LOL. Lots of love. So you guys want to talk about something totally different? Yes, that case. Something totally different than any of the true crime crap? Okay. I have a question. Why, and we're not going to use the V word, okay? We're not going to use the V word. We're not going to use any words that would shed any light on what we're talking about, okay? So we're going to be careful in the chat, just like we always are. Like we don't say, you know who in the kitchen, we say Alice Cooper, okay? Because we know how to do a case discussion. Well, let's talk about something other than true crime for just a little bit. Humor me. The V word, okay? The V word. Why are people shaming or trying to shame or ridiculing or being rude to or whatever other word, the un-V people? Why? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I'm missing something. The V people seem to be trying to make it sound like they are somehow unsafe because of the un-V people. But isn't it the un-V people who are actually unsafe? If their choice to be an un-V person is the wrong choice. Does that make sense? So why are the V people acting like the un-Vs are somehow less than, to coin one of the favorite little phrases of Christopher Watt's wife? Why? And I have a question. Do you think an un-V person is less than a V person? Do you think it's your right to tell an un-V what to do? Susie says, I'm lost. Well, you have to figure out what the word V means to not be lost. Is there anybody here who isn't lost? Aha, Sandy isn't lost. Sandy says, just another way to divide us. Exactly. Christine isn't lost. Susie, the way to figure it out is to figure out what the word V stands for. What word V stands for. Three of a kind's lost too, I think. Cosmo says, speak English, please. Susie says V could be many things. Well, it's one of the topics of, current events. To V or not to V. But I don't understand why the V people think that the un-Vs would be less than the Vs. Yes, not that, Sandy. Not that. Susie, get your mind out of the gutter, girl. Not vegan, but we could call it vegan. Is that okay with everybody if we say vegan? Okay, so what if the vegan who fully believes in being a vegan, or even is newly embracing the idea, well, why are they so interested in slamming the non-vegan? I said vegan. You see what I'm saying? Because it seems to me that the non-vegan would be the one who would be at risk. And no, three of a kind, it isn't vegan. We're just using the word vegan. So if the vegans think that the non-vegans are somehow putting them at risk, isn't it really the other way around? Isn't it really the non-vegan who is at risk to be around the vegans? Because the vegans can still be presenting a risk. Three of a kind is about to take offense. We could use the word virgin instead of vegan if you want. Susie, do you mind if I ask your reasoning? And feel free not to answer. I don't want to ask anything that's too personal. And this is the no judgment zone, because personally, my opinion is whether or not you want to be a vegan, it's up to you. That's my opinion. And I think it's interesting that for a civilization that seems so hell bent on making sure that our medical records are private, that all of a sudden we're supposed to be very open about this one aspect. I think every person has the right. I mean, and here's the other part. I don't want to use that word either, but it starts with an A. So we'll say, what's a good A word? We'll say aardvark. Okay. Let's say that you're against aardvarks and that you would never have an aardvark of your own. Okay. And you think that other people shouldn't have aardvarks either. So you go to this clinic where they provide aardvarks and you make posters and you stand right in the driveway of the clinic and you march back and forth yelling, "You're a killer. You're a murderer." Because in your opinion, if somebody has an aardvark, they're a killer. Okay. So if you're against aardvarks and you have vowed that you would never have an aardvark and you think that everybody else on the planet shouldn't have an aardvark either, then what's your main argument? Your main argument is, it's my body. Oh, here Daisy Days is giving us the main argument. Here we go. Daisy Days, perfect timing, says, my body, my right. If you're against aardvarks, then you get really mad when you hear the people who are not against aardvark saying, it's none of your business. It's my body. It's between my doctor and me. It's my decision. You get really mad if you're one of the people who have made posters and you're walking back and forth at the aardvark clinic. Well, the chance is pretty good that if you're one of the people who thinks it's okay to have an aardvark, and if you're one of the people who thinks it's none of your business whether or not somebody else has an aardvark, then you are pretty much, I'm thinking, of the belief that it's nobody's business but the person who has an aardvark and perhaps her doctor, right? So if we can clearly hear that argument for decades, and if that argument stands firm, then why, when it comes to being a vegan as compared to having an aardvark, aren't the same people saying it's none of your business if I'm a vegan or not? What kind of a slippery slope are we on? When it comes to aardvarks, everyone just politely says, oh, okay. That makes sense in a way, right? But when it comes to vegans, there's a lot of anger, really, about aardvarks too. But for the most part, the people who are angry about them pretty much make posters and walk back and forth at the entrance to the aardvark clinic. I love Turtle Girl. Let's go, Brandon. Yep, that's what the crowd was saying for sure. You could hear it, couldn't you? Let's go, Brandon. uh, Just my opinion. I think if you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. You be you, girl. You be you. If you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. If you don't want to be a vegan, don't be a vegan. You be you, girl. And if that means you don't want to be a vegan, don't be a vegan. If you want to have an aardvark, have an aardvark. That's between you and your doctor. And it's painted out to be such a terrible, terrible issue. Oh, people just are so careless and they just don't care and all that. Nah, baloney. Baloney. I highly doubt people are just casually deciding to get an aardvark. And the same is true about becoming a vegan. I highly doubt people are casually deciding to either be a vegan or to not be a vegan. But something that I do not doubt is that nowhere in the Constitution do I see any reference at all to any wording anywhere that would strip us of our right to be a vegan or to not be a vegan if we chose not to be. We have the right to be a vegan. We have the right to not be a vegan. We also have the right to worship. Did you guys know there was a case in California where people actually got in trouble? The judge ruled against them because they were holding a worship service in their home during lockdown. During the time frame, evidently, when the strip clubs were still open, the stores were open, the malls were open. You can go to a strip club, but you damn well better not go to your neighbor's house for Sunday worship. That's covered in the Constitution. And thankfully, on appeal, it got reversed. Yes, Sandy, to V or not to V? That is the question. What kind of world are we giving our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and our great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren if already in 2021 society is learning how to pressure other members of society to comply? Is that what freedom looks like? Cosmo says many in authoritative positions are compromised. I agree with that. I think we've seen a lot of evidence of that in the last few years, haven't we? I think something else is going on too. Look at the attacks that have been going on at least for the last 3 years, and I'm sure much longer. Do you think it's any coincidence that I'm a Trump supporter? Because it sure seems weird to me that the people getting attacked, for the most part, are people who support President Trump. I didn't have access to my own Facebook account for a long time. I'm talking over a year. Isn't that kind of interesting? I think there's a whole lot of silencing going on. I think it's been happening already for years. And I think, sadly, there are very few of us who are standing really firm for our right to speak, right? For our freedom to speak. And I think those of us here who are talking about the case of Christopher Watts, I think we are among the very few who are saying, Screw that. We have the right and we have the freedom to discuss this case. So it doesn't surprise me that a lot of us here are Trump supporters. It also doesn't surprise me that a lot of us here are not becoming vegans. And we also have plenty here who are becoming vegans. And we have the libertarian approach to each other that, hey, it's your decision. MJ says, I love President Trump. He's the greatest president ever. I used to say that Ronald Reagan was, but I think President Trump is better. I think it might be kind of a tie between the two. President Reagan did a lot of good for the country. But back to the vegan thing. Why do you guys think that the vegans think that the non-vegans are somehow less than? I don't get it. I don't get it. What am I missing? Because the vegans can still carry it, they can still transmit it, they can still put other people at risk, just like the non-vegans can get it and carry it and transmit it and put other people at risk. So I don't get it. I don't know. I'm thinking of getting a bumper sticker, and maybe I should market it here because I know a lot of people in this YouTube channel routine have like merch. Maybe we should make bumper stickers that say, that word and then get off my what, right? Susie says they're saying here that it's going to get worse with winter coming. I think right now, from what I'm hearing, it is worse right now. And they expect it to get better like in another 2 or 3 weeks. They expect the number of cases to be lower. But then I think probably around the holidays, it'll start up again. Maria says that she'll be losing her job the end of November, right around Thanksgiving. Stephanie makes a good point. Are the vegans less likely to be symptomatic and less likely to pass it? Other than that, not sure. That's a good possibility, but that's not what I'm hearing, and I don't know, and I want you to know I'm not a medical person at all. So don't take anything I say as, all that. But what I'm hearing is that symptomatic or not, the vegans are passing it, sometimes without any symptoms at all. The difference from what I'm hearing is that when one or the other contracts it, that the vegans usually fare far better in fighting it than the non-vegans. So I don't think that it's whether or not they're less likely to pass it. I think it's that the vegans are less likely to suffer dire consequences if they get it. But that's a good point, Stephanie, because if they're less likely to get it, that's a question that we haven't had answered yet. DG says they want compliance. I'm surprised at how fast everybody complied with the masks right off the bat. Yes, Susie, it is scaremongering, fear mongering for sure. And it works. It really works. Oh, this is so cute. This is so cute. I love these comments, you guys. Shalina says, LOL, LOL, lots of love. I was sitting here wondering why this talk of being a vegetarian. Yikes, it took me 20 minutes to catch on. And she agrees, your body, your choice. Sharon says, I've worked all through it and so far not had it. Well, be thankful, Sharon. Be so thankful. Stephanie says she is a vegan. I don't know why I keep saying vegan or vegan, whatever. I'll say vegan. Stephanie says she's a vegan and still she is forced to wear a mask at work. Well, and I think that takes us back to what we were just saying, though, because I think that whether or not you're a vegan, you can still get it and you can still carry it and you can still transmit it. Sharon says, I have to wear masks as I deal with the elderly. And that's just good. And that, I think it's good, just my opinion, because if nothing else, it could be that they're feeling more comforted that they're safer. I don't know. Three of a Kind is getting vegan offended. I'd hate to switch it up now, Three of a Kind, because I think we'd lose a few along the way. Yes, isn't that funny, Cosmo? I bought a pack of 10. I have the cloth ones and I have the neck thing and blah, 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 but I bought a pack of those 10, the blue ones, and right away noticed where they were made. I thought, ooh, I don't know if I want to put this right up to my face. Daisy Days says 2 different countries last week, only few wearing masks. Oops, it went faster than I read it. Hold on. Not as widespread as media have you believe, same as the jabs. Sharon says we don't have to wear them now. Yeah, people don't wear them where I live. I don't see masks at all where I live. Sandy says, OMG, you are on a roll today. How I've missed you. You would like a video I just put up on the Patreon thing on the Sabrina Lamone case. She's the one who had a little 22-year-old lover boy who murdered her husband. And she went to trial and she took the stand. I did a couple of videos on that case the other day, and this morning I did another one. And after, I always listen to them after I do them to make sure I didn't like say something really backwards or something. And like, just for an example, one time I pronounced the last name wrong throughout the entire video. So I'm like, crap, I'll have to redo it. But I listened to the one this morning. I thought, yeah, that's the old there coming out. I was like, really? She was sleeping with a 22-year-old, really? She didn't know how old he was? Uh-huh. Sharon says that her workplace told her that she had to get them. Cecile went to France last week. Masks everywhere. Here in the UK, far fewer. Oh my goodness, no way. No way. Amanda says that the 8-year-old, her 8-year-old, along with 3 of her classmates, all tested positive 3 days ago. So far, luckily, it's been similar to the common cold. Well, vitamin D, multivitamins, really good food, really good rest, lots of good water. definitely make sure that the pediatrician is well aware. Stephanie says, 3 of a kind. I agree. It shouldn't be forced on anyone. Mal says, hi guys, I'm in the UK and can't wear a mask. Not many people do wear them now. Yes, zinc. Vitamin D, C, and zinc. Susie says, I'm in Scotland and we do. You know, the masks are just like the vegan or not, and the aardvark or not. It's up to you. In my opinion, it's up to you. Shalina says, and there's nothing wrong with the old MM. At least someone is fighting for our right to have rights. Own it, Shalina, own it. We have the right. We have the right to speak. We have the right to discuss even this subject. And I feel kind of like I'm being somewhat hypocritical even by coming up with code words. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and use the real words. Because you know what? Even if YouTube chooses to go, oh, look at what they're discussing, we're going to delete that video. Maybe we should go ahead and just use the regular words. Whether or not you choose to be vaccinated, in my opinion, is your decision. And I'll take it a step further. I think you have the right to keep your medical information private. Sandy says, I have such a difficult time with the masks, I can't breathe. I notice when I do see people wearing masks when I go to the big city, so often they're underneath the nose, like they're just covering the mouth and the chin. And I think that's because a lot of people feel that they're uncomfortable for sure. Susie says, what's going to happen when we want to travel? Here you have to prove you've been jabbed. Well, I think you can still travel. I'm not sure, Susie, but I think you have to be tested. I think that's how they do it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think you can still travel, but I think they'll test you right there. I do think also that we have questions, right? We have questions. How did that one magazine used to say, inquiring minds want to know, right? We have questions. MJ says, a few days ago, Facebook was shut down for hours. I think they shut themselves down and did a little house cleaning quick. Just my opinion. I think they were cleaning house just a little bit. But we have questions. And you know what? We don't need a bunch of confusing 3-minute clips from a bunch of talking heads. We want answers. Okay? I have a question. Is it true that natural immunities are far better than being vaccinated? Is that true? Yes or no? It is not anything really that I would think would have to be debated. Is it true or not? We're being told that millions of people were studied. I'm not sure which country was it. Was it Israel? I don't know. Was it Thailand? I'm not sure. What country was it? That didn't they track like millions of people? And people with natural immunities were far better, like 12 or 13 times less likely to suffer to suffer severe. That's what happens when you start to say severe and suffer at the same time. Is it true? I'm not saying it is true. I'm saying we want to know, is it true that people with natural immunities are far more likely to not suffer severe consequences if they do contract the virus? If that's true, then why isn't everybody being tested for antibodies? And I don't mean forcefully tested, but why aren't we being offered free testing like we're being offered free everything else, right? You know, why aren't they testing antibodies? Why aren't we wanting people to know if they have antibodies? And if the studies clearly show that antibodies are far better than the vaccine, then why aren't we finding out whether or not we have antibodies? But that doesn't really go very well with the fear factor then, right? Because if a few million people find out that they have, was it Israel? Okay. Lee says it was Israel. And Lee says Facebook will never let that info be put on Facebook. Total censorship. Okay, so if Israel's information is reliable, which it sounds like it is, and if the number of people being tracked is huge, and it sounds like it is, and if the data seems overwhelmingly in favor of supporting the hypothesis that it is far better to have natural immunity than it is to have a vaccine, then why aren't we finding out whether or not we have natural immunity? Hang on, the phone's ringing. I'll be right back. Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and take this call right now, but I'll be back on in a few hours and we'll pick up where we left off, okay? Everybody have a wonderful afternoon or evening or whatever, wherever you are. Be safe, be healthy, and jump back on when we get this rolling again in a few hours. See you soon. Sorry, Sharon. I know. See you soon.